First Descendant Dia patch is out, and we've been jumping around, grinding Dia, getting her arcade tuning and all of that, but today, as usual, we're going to go through the patch notes and the updates that's a little bit different from the dev notes that we had before and kind of talk about the state of the game as it is right now, which is pretty cool. And of course, I'm back to full-time streaming, so if you want to come by my live stream, twitch.tv/Drybear. I'm live on Kick, Drybear TV, and also on YouTube, of course, as well. Come hang out in the chat. If you have questions or comments for me, you'll find me there live every single day. One cool thing about this patch, before we go into the notes, is that there was a pretty significant uptick in players jumping into the game. Now, typically with this, we see this kind of peter out depending on how fast people get through the new content. We have the new dungeon, we have the 2 new weapons, we have the new character, and some of the new modules and stuff to farm, but obviously there's only so much time you can spend farming that before you run out of content and you're waiting for the next patch as well. But at the very least, we do see a nice uptick here for people on PC, and imagine it's a very similar uptick on both consoles as well. And as per usual, when new skins get added to the game, the First Descendant jumps up. This is the revenue chart on PC, so they're up to 23rd place as far as revenue, which actually, they're pretty close to the pre-order sales for Resident Evil Requiem as of right now. So generally, a lot of people like buying skins in the First Descendant, so that patch is brought up. So overall, it seems like the patch has been good. Now, the primo, like big ticket item of the patch is the new Descendant, Dia. She is a chill Descendant that has tons of grouping mechanics as well as lots of good AoE as well. She has this really cool spear that she can build around, and also the back half of her outfit has been stolen. So we got like, it's kind of funny they did like a split down the middle, half and half. Now, I'm not getting into her entire kit and builds and all that stuff, but her basic kit is that she plays off of using a melee weapon. So when she has a melee weapon in hand, she gets a bonus. You can see that little passive icon down below on my abilities. She has the ability to dash and charge through targets, dealing chill along the way. She builds up that special resource by hitting targets with her spear. Then she can spend it on things like buffing herself up, giving her some defense, as well as this vortex effect on her third ability. So she's got tons of grouping. She's probably the best grouper in the game, even better than Lepic, I would say. But you can argue with that in the comments, that sort of thing. And then her ultimate allows her to be able to throw her spear and deal damage. And then she also has 2 red mods that she can play around with that also work really well. But you can see her damage is pretty good. I haven't finished building her yet. Arcade 28 right now, as you can see in the top right corner, so we're working on her to get her builds up. But in general, I would say she is a great addition to the game, super strong and very valuable as far as like grouping goes. And you're probably going to enjoy having her in your group just for that very reason, because grouping is effective for everybody in the game, because that means you don't have to have as big of AoE in order to be effective, which is super cool. So a new Descendant here coming along in the game. If you're wondering how to farm her, they were a little bit more generous this time around. So some of the things that you're getting here are going to come from either Sigma Sector or the new dungeon in Axiom Plains, which is huge because if you go to Sigma Sector, you're going to be farming arcade tuning for your new character anyway. So I actually been running Sigma Sector more than the new dungeon for that same reason. You will still need to get this new resource in order to get it, but the grind I would say is much better than some of the other patches. So if you're wondering where to get it, you're going to the new dungeon or to Sigma Sector, and you'll eventually get these. I think the blueprints are probably better to be farmed in the dungeon, though it seems to be the same, and you can still target reward these, and the fact that they come from different sources is quite useful as well. So farming Dia, I'd say, is much better than farming Ultimate Yujin or farming the swords or like the Hive Master that they've done. So they did clean it up a little bit, and the fact that there's 2 sources instead of 1 is a huge win for everybody. Next up is the new underwater dungeon. You will need to go through about halfway through of Dia's new chapter story, or like the new main story, in order to unlock this dungeon. This one is available in the Axiom Plains and plays just like the other Axiom Plain dungeons that we have, though it's kind of like a little bit of an underwater theme. You start outside and head inside. It's got a cool little boss at the end. It's not really anything super different than what we've experienced before. It's just a brand new area, it's the same, like art set, same environment art set, but it's laid out in a different way and has its own experience. So if you want to jump in the new dungeon, this one is available, and this is going to be one of the places that you'll farm the materials for Dia and of course the new weapons as well. The new dungeon is also where you're going to find like very straightforward farms for Chillbrand and Blooming Ecstasy for Dia, but also most importantly the brand new module, the trigger modules for Gley, Kyle, and Dia to put this together, so you can actually have that line up. So these are kind of like where you're going to want to pick these up, and you do want the new Dia one, as it will be pretty nice for her, but I'll save that for a Dia build video that will come after this one. Now, as I mentioned, there is also a brand new main story that's going to progress the story with Corel and stuff like that, and also Dia for when you're playing her and kind of unlocking her and things like that. And they also have a sub quest too. So there's a couple new quests that you can do. I think 2 new quests that you can do, including a big new quest line that takes you through the dungeon and unlocks those things. I'm not going to spoil that here, but you're welcome to do that in your game and enjoy that. That is something worth logging in for. Next, we have the new player, returning player catch-up mechanic, which is the HQ orders. So if you head over here in Albion to Eckert, when talk to Big Man Epic over here, you will now see on this screen next to my big fat head is HQ standing orders and HQ special orders. When you click on these are essentially selector boxes that allow you to pick a material that you would need to craft something, and all you have to do is do the quest. So here, do infiltration operation in sterile land, and then you get to choose one of the Thunder Cage blueprints. So this is basically a catch-up mechanic. If you don't own everything in the game already, or you're like a returning player, you miss some stuff, this is gonna be a great option for you to come back and pick up some of these, like the starting characters, and then the special orders are very similar to that as well. So getting up like the Shadow, if you're missing any of these items like this, it'll be a great opportunity for you to do a very simple quest for activities you're probably doing anyways. Complete these, get it done. You just need to accept it ahead of time. So come here and accept it, then go do it and get this. And it's a selector. You can select from one of these rewards if you need to get caught up on something in the game, which is pretty cool. And honestly, it's just a nice boon for people that are coming back to the game or new players that are trying to catch up. Next, 2 new weapons have been added to the game. I haven't farmed them both yet, but we're working on that right now. So we'll be able to pick these up. But actually, I'm excited to see what these will actually do. The first one is called E-Buster. This is an electric stat stick kind of weapon. It might actually have good DPS on its own. We haven't tested too much of that just yet. But when you use an electric skill, you get overlap while it's active. When you use a tracking projectile, which Sharon and Inez can trigger, it grants energy round. Energy round will allow you to increase the damage of the weapon, but also you can get energy conversion when you use the tracking projectile, which will give you stacking electric power. So this might replace Blue Beetle for a lot of electric characters. I'm guessing this is going to be primarily used by Inez, which gives Inez a nice little boost, because this gives you, 9% by default at level 1 of the unique ability. This will give her a good percentage of electric power increase just by holding this weapon in hand. And currently Inez is usually a overall skill-based descendant, so this means that she can use a weapon that gives her bonus. And also keep in mind that when you stack up the stacks for E-Buster, it will also grant you damage on your shot. So you might be able to, if the numbers work out in the end, build up the stacks on conversion and then fire the extra energy rounds as a rotation, right? You throw out your AoE ultimate, you throw out your bouncing ultimate, you detonate, and then you fire your rounds and then rotate through that, and you can switch between melee or gun damage and skill damage as a rotation for Inez, which is pretty cool. The next one is the Battle Pass weapon, Eye of the Typhoon, and this is a dual purpose weapon that's gonna be pretty fun to build up. It is a beam rifle that fires out in an AoE in front of you using beams everywhere, and it charges up a special resource that allows you to spend that to do single targets. So it's a split between Overwatch's Winston weapon that fires in beam area, and then you can split it and do into a single target burn. We'll see how much this one pulls out and how much damage this one actually do, but I think it looks really cool. Has a cool transforming state as well, so this is one of the new weapons you can get, but this one is from the Battle Pass. This one is not farmed directly, so you're farming the new E-Buster from the new dungeon, but then you're getting this one from the Battle Pass as an unlock. We also have 3 new modules. The Arcade Resonator, this is a kill chain to target. When you inflict the strike target, you get skill power, so it's a way for us to get skill power scaling on it as well, and you also get cooldown of skill 4. This one might have some cool implications. There's a couple characters that I wish their 4th skill had a shorter cooldown. This might be a way to do it, but again, we got to play around with this and get it, so we're kind of testing that out. There's only so much I can test in one single session, so we're kind of looking at that separately. Tactical Advantage allows you to get skill duration and skill critical hit damage, which is actually a pretty nice boon, especially given it's on the Arcade Tech category, which means that it won't compete too much with some of the other duration and crit damage modules we already use. And we also have Lucky Coin. I think all 3 of these trigger only off their corresponding trigger modules, so you'll have to be using the trigger module with this to get the bonus, but this one gives either skill effect range and skill cost or skill power and movement speed, so another nice addition. There's also 3 new trigger modules, and they're all very focused on a specific character for build. We have Focus and Expansion. This one is when you're using HP Absorption. I'm sure you can guess who that is for. It grants Focus and Expansion, which gives you damage increase based on HP and range as well. So this one is a very Gley coded option, but it is going to be pretty strong. You see the skill power goes up pretty strongly as well. So this one hopefully works out and builds into Gley. Glay's got a bunch of new builds to play around with based on the changes that went into the patch. Icebreaker is mostly focused on Dia. The reason I say mostly is that she is not the only one that can apply Frostbite, but when you apply Frostbite to an enemy with a skill weapon type skill, you can do Icebreaker. I'm curious if there are other ways to trigger this besides Dia based on the category of skill weapon type skill, but in general, this one is very Dia coded. So you get the Icebreaker buff for yourself, which gives you skill attacks. This is a very easy way for you to stack up lots of stacks of this and then get a whole bunch of skill attack versus different targets in general, which is pretty sweet. So this one might be a great one for Dia, doing a single target build, which gets a bunch of stacks and then does a whole bunch of damage on that sort of thing. But this one is going to be a great trigger module for her in general. And this one is Overcharged Shield. I believe Kyle is the only one that can do this. You need a Clash type skill and a Charge charge type skill, which I believe Kyle is the only one that has both of those in his kit. This one grants you energy transfer, and you can use that to cost shield, but increase your skill power. So you can consume shield and energy transfer in order to increase your skill damage, which is a great lineup for someone like Kyle. And of course, we need Daya's Ancestor modules. This is Delightful Resolution. So we're going to roll this as well. So this is going to be a big addition for her, being able to get an Ancestor module that rolls well. If you want to buy it on the market or try to farm one of these, you certainly can. But getting a good roll for her will definitely increase her power quite a bit. But Daya's Ancestor module is in the game now, called Delightful Resolution. And with this patch, they did mention that all new trigger modules and all new Ancestor modules are tradable right away at day one. So if you are someone that uses the trade market for that, you certainly can. Next, we got some Descendant balance. I'm not going to go super in depth because in the dev broadcast, we went through most of that as well. So like Gley receiving the majority of these, but we did see others as well. So Yujin did see an increase to stop overreacting. The HP increase went up by 10% and the duration tripled as well, which is going to help him a lot in managing this uptime for that. And they also modified the sound for the skill Combat Protocol for Yujin. Next up is Enzo, and just the performance of Fire Specialist and Compressed Bullet. He did just get a buff in the last major patch as well. So now it also applies to round consumption due to melee weapons, and the prep effects required to trigger Firing Specialist went from 3 to 2, which is a little bit nice. Next up are the changes to Kyle specifically. Now this one has been they mentioned in the broadcast that Kyle was getting a buff, and it was like a buff nerf situation. Anytime there's a buff nerf situation, you have to kind of like let it be and then test it after the fact, because you never know how it's actually going to turn out. It could have been the nerf is more than we thought and the buff is less than we thought, so it ends up being an overall nerf. I have heard from people in my chat from live stream that people have said that Kyle feels worse than he did in the previous update, so let me know what you think about this as well. So the way they did this for Kyle, they're hoping that the buff nerf works out in the end, is that they reduced the damage of all his skills by 30%. However, skill damage increases by up to 88.4% in proportion to max shield. So the hope is all of his skills got worse, and that, however, now they scale more with the max shield that you have. So presumably, it works out that it ends up being more overall, that you get that benefit there. They also made it so that superconductive bombing on Mark II increases the fire rate of bombing by about 50%. So they increased the bombing rate, lowered all of his base skill damage, and then made it scale with max shield. Now, I have heard from people in chat that this feels worse after the update. It could just be that you need to put more in your build towards max shield than you did before to get the same effect. But again, it is a buff nerf. You have to be careful with buff nerfs. Sometimes they sound good on paper and they don't work out. So if you're someone that is a Kyle main, or you've been messing around with Kyle with this patch, let me know in the comments down below how you feel about the final result with these changes. Next up is the big recipient of this patch, Gley Daya's Mama. So Mama has received a large amount of this. So I'll scroll through these and you can look through it. The thing about the patch notes is they are very, they delineate every single line item. So this ends up being really long, but it's not quite as long as it looks just from scrolling through it. So here's the basic synopsis of what they did to Gley. At core, the biggest changes for Gley is going to be with her red modules in general. At core, what they did is they made it so it's easier to build her special resource by making, power of life spawn easier. They also made it so her passive can by a random chance spawn the orbs, which means that if you're not getting kills, you can still generate the orbs, which is a really nice change, and overall kind of mess around with some of the base stats, the damage scaling, and all of that. Whereas most of the changes that are meaningful, or at least from a high level, like sexy and interesting to think about, all come from her red modules. Moving on to the red modules, Super Sense's got some nice changes here with a new effect. There's some HP recovery built into this as well. They also removed the fixed fire rate on maximized lethality, which is also really nice, and they added some new damage scaling based on frenzy state as well. So we're gonna get some really nice damage output from Super Senses, which is really cool. We haven't really been able to use this mod for a while. I don't know if there's anyone that's been using Super Senses in recent times, so that's a big part of it as well. Then with Massive Sanguification, this one is a big change too. HP cost went up, or went way down, so you can actually not use that out, but also Power of Life obtained amount went way up. So just with these two changes here, you're able to get a lot of... So when it comes to Sanguification, this one is just going to be way easier to use. It has much less HP consumption and way more Power of Life, generation. And so that just means you can use it a lot easier, which is really cool. Predator Instinct, her infinite ammo one, did not get any changes because they didn't need it. This is the one that people use with Restored Relic and just blast everything on the screen. So that one was already being used to great effect. Blood and Iron got a massive rework, at least not on paper, but functionally it's quite massive. So this one is a melee weapon build. This is your melee Berserker build. Very excited to mess around with Blood and Iron, and we'll probably see some new builds come coming out for this one in general. But this one allows you to, when you have a melee weapon, you can generate power of life, and they also increase the damage that you deal when you have this active. So once you get this, you can spawn more. But more specifically, they also allowed you to get the new ultimate, which allows you to do that gunslinger slam, slam, slam. Next up, while using Blood and Iron, you get this cool new gunslinger ultimate. So you'll be able to activate this. So I can hide this real quick so you can see it. So there's this. And now when you build up enough resource and you have Blood and Iron equipped, not only are you built for melee damage, like being able to bring out your sword and go, xia, 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 xia. It's a melee berserker build. But now with your new ultimate, you can do this. I don't have any mods equipped, so the numbers are going to be really small, but it's pretty cool. It like gives you this like gunslinger mag style ultimate where you can come over here and do this. So you're running around doing melee, doing damage. And again, I have no modules equipped, so that's going to be really weak. But it gives a good amount of damage in the front line, and you can just kind of channel down. Brand new way to play Gley, which is really cool. Demonic modification is also crazy because this one they made a couple changes here. So like they increased the damage of it. They changed the minimum condition to use it, and also lowered the HP cost for it. You will still drain HP, it's just a little bit lower. They added a fixed fire rate, but the damage on the explosion is really high. But what's cool about this module change is that now we can build this up. We can bring out the weapon. You can see the weapon itself is different. It's actually a different weapon than her default. However, when you aim down sights, you see this meter in the middle of the screen building up. And then once it's full, now we can like explode and do AoEs with it. You can see it's draining HP, but now we can do this, and you can see now it's exploding. So it applies it, and we're doing these AoEs here, which it already, even with, I have no mods equipped right now besides the default, you will be able to build around it. But this one actually is pretty promising and super encouraging. Like we actually could make some really fun builds with this. So the meter's up, and now we can just shoot this, but now we're just exploding red all over the screen with this. This is gonna be a lot limited because again, I don't have mods equipped right now, but that just shows you the power of demonic modification, which is pretty sweet. And for explosive life as well, this one probably, honestly, between Blood and Iron, the old school Predator Instinct, the new demonic modification, there's so many new builds for her. I don't know how many people are gonna be using explosive life, but at the very least, I think it is kind of interesting. So this one is going to be when you spawn orbs, you will spawn those on the ground, so you can spawn a couple of these, and then when you have resource, you can detonate them, right? And all they did with this is they made it a little bit better, a little bit more scaling on it and things like that. You can see the damage on it went up pretty effectively, and also this one is combined with the baseline change for Gley that she spawns more orbs more consistently, which means you can actually detonate. This is one of the big challenges that Gley had before, is that generating her own frickin' resource was a challenge in some cases, especially if you weren't getting kills. So now that she spawns more orbs, she can use more orbs. Now we have explosive life coming into the fray, a little bit more useful. Another cool change is by default, without any modifications, now her unique weapon will do this like echoing effect. It basically turns into malevolent. So as you're shooting it, you know, if you want to do a unique weapon build, you can actually get it to ricochet and bounce like malevolent. That is a default base level change, which is actually pretty cool and gives you a lot of value out of a unique weapon. So now she's got some good quality of life in her base kit, a nice change to her unique weapon, and a bunch of cool new red mods to play around with, which makes her very interesting, and a lot of theory crafting that can be done on that front. And additionally, in this patch, a bunch of characters had their ancestor module scaling value adjusted. So synchronization value, this is just how strong their ancestor modules are. Lepix went up, Gley's went down, Kyle's went up, Luna's went up, Haley's went up, and Nell went up. So if you're using ancestral modules this patch, everyone but Gley has more scaling on that, but Gley's went down along with all the buffs that she received. So hopefully it's an overall gain when we're talking about ancestor modules. There's also a brand new battle pass added to the game with a battle pass skin that is commemorating the loss of our commander Alpha. So this one has all of it in it. You have to, you know, this is also going to be where you get the new Eye of the Typhoon. It has some cool rewards in it, some cool skins and attachments and things you'll get. So like ancient knight skin, some hair, some other materials as well. You get like this cool little like mocking dance where you do thumbs down on someone, things like that. So all this stuff is in there. And if you're looking for the skin, the Alpha skin, it is at the end of the battle pass as well. So you'll have to pick that up from that location, but it does kind of have some cool things added to it as well. It also has a battle supply shop. This is where you're going to get the new Daya skin where she's in her hyperbaric time chamber recovering. There's a cool new color for Mr. Ajax as well. That's what you want to pick up. A freaky deaky new helmet for Miss Valby, and then also a Yujin skin, which actually by default is pretty cool. It's a mix of like armor plus like some actually gloved and like, you know, corduroy leather kind of setup here. So it is a pretty decent skin for him. So that's going to be your pickup there, plus of course, the bonus shop if you want to pick that up. But the Battle Pass is available and has rolled over to a new season. It's also worth mentioning that they added new challenges to the Battle Pass, but changed how the challenges work. So they actually decreased the completion requirements and reduced the number of challenges per week overall. However, they increased the XP that you get from them. So essentially, there's going to be less challenges available, but they will provide more. And again, they didn't specify how much, but hopefully it's an overall net gain, which means there's less to do, but it's more valuable activity per time spent because they provide more, but there's less of them, that sort of thing, worth noting. There's now also a system that they added to this that they said they were going to add eventually, and they finally did, which is the ability to visit other people's lounge. And they said after this, they're not going to be making any major changes to the lounge or adding new content, but you can put some time into developing your lounge and showing it and getting your guide skins and stuff like that. And all this will be displayed here, and then other people can visit your lounge once they complete a quest in order to unlock that, and then they can like your lounge as well. It's like your stronghold, your player housing, that sort of thing. So whatever it is that you're trying to do, you see even Daya's here just chilling and doing a Rubik's Cube. I guess she's already gotten over her trauma. But here in the lounge, you'll be able to check that out, and you can visit other people's lounges. All you have to do is complete the quest, A World of Placement. Once you do that, you can go visit other lounges, you can like them, and see what other people have set up for their lounge. Additionally, they also added a self-insert option here. I mean, the Descendants already talk when you get near them, but they added an option with this patch where you can sit down in the lounge. So you will find at various locations, you can like sit down next to people, and usually this will trigger new voice lines here. Let's see if it does this time around. So it is still first person, so you can kind of sit there, but you can see that they start talking like, hey, you're late, I was missing you, where were you? Oh, the dinner's getting cold, blah, blah, blah. So you're not gonna have that like, you know, experience there, so... She's waving at us. So you got this here as well. If you want to kind of insert yourself to the world and hang out, you certainly can. And throughout this, you're going to be able to sit down in the lounge and have that if that's your sort of thing. Someone in chat also just asked if you can lay down on the bed. You can sit down on the bed. So you can still do the same thing here. So whoever you have on the bed, you can sit down on the bed and hang out with them. Why did you take so long? So that is an option for you. It doesn't look like you can lay down. I don't know if you can maybe like remove her from it, and maybe you can try that, but there is another option for you if you wanted to insert yourself. Next, it is a new season, which means we have a new Inversion Reinforcement. This is all going to reset here, so you have to re-level this back up and then get all the points here. And as per usual, we're going to have a couple new ones added to the system. You have Blade Trajectory Correction, which is for melee weapon attack, stacking up to 10 times. So this is upwards of 26% melee weapon attack. So for the new Blood and Iron build for Gley, or the Daya build with a weapon, or any melee weapon build you can use, this is going to be a pretty easy pickup. You have one for Eye of the Typhoon, which is the Battle Pass weapon, increasing the number of targets hit as well as the damage that it does as well, which is really cool. You can also add a round gain on the passive for E-Buster and multi-hit damage scaling as well for the weapon, which is pretty cool. And I don't know if they've actually done this before, but this one is only, well, I guess they did a couple times, maybe one other time, but this one is only when using Daya specifically. You will get skill effect range on top of this as well as skill critical hit damage. She gets crit rate very easily when she's holding a melee weapon, so she has basically perfect 100% crit rate. So you get free crit damage and also crit or effect range on her abilities while using this. So I feel like, you know, you can probably run this one. Unfortunately, you can't double up here, so you won't be able to do the melee weapon damage and this one, but this is going to make Daya even stronger, at least for the length of the season, because now we have a Daya-specific buff for crit damage on skills for free. This is 6.8% crit damage times 5 for the 5 stacks, plus skill effect range on it as well, which is crazy. Next, we have finally hit the point where they're going to start recycling the Abyss bosses. Now, some may say this is recycling, and it actually is, right? Because they're bringing back old Abyss bosses as part of the rotation. However, there's a nice benefit here in that if you missed the Abyss skins from the Abyss bosses, it now means that you can then earn them again. So yes, it's not a new boss, it's not new content in general, but if you missed the skins, they're going to go through a rotation here to bring this up. Hopefully they get to a point where there's at least one new Abyss and an old one at the same time, like a rerun plus a brand new one. Instead of doing one at a time, they could do like new one plus old one and then just rotate that way. But this is going to be the Infernal Walker. I believe this is the first Abyss that we got in general, which is going to be great for Daya, but of course Haley and Viessa can clear this very easily as well, or you could just kind of use a weapon too if you wanted to, but I feel like the Chill Descendants are going to be better off. So this is going to be a fire-based Abyss boss, and it will allow you to pick up the old skins for it, which honestly are probably the ugliest skins they've added into the game, but there's also a special appeal for that. So if you want to look like a Michelin Man giant bulbous rubber ball, then you can as part of the skins there, and those will be for sale with ETA 0 starting tomorrow, so you can start farming it today if you wanted to pick that up. Along with this as well, they've also reset the leaderboards, so if you're going to climb the leaderboards again and get your ranking rewards, all that has gone down for Void Erosion Purge and also for the Abyss bosses, for timings and all that. So now's the time to reset jimmy up your builds, make sure everything's ready to go, and shore up all of that, and then try to climb the leaderboards as part of that process. They also did the companion app to be able to complete research and start new research. So if you haven't downloaded the companion app on your mobile, that would be a good reason to do so that when you finish a research on your research, bring up on your phone, accept the rewards on it, it'll show up in game, and also you can start a new research if you want to, which is really good because then it means if you're in bed or you're on the couch watching TV and your PlayStation's turned off or something, you can just go and start the new research without logging back into the game, which is a pretty nice feature to have. So the companion app you can find on Android and iOS, download it and then connect it to your account through Nexon, and you'll be able to manage your research, active researches through that. They also got a new login event with 3 pages on it here. So you get some all this kind of general gameplay stuff and unlocks, but you also are able to get the equestrian skin for Daya, which is one of her skins there. And after 21 days of logging in, you get a skin for the Executor as well. And also you can get the cleaning service, the maid skin for Inez if you like to pick that up. That is a new one. It's the same setup that they have for all of them. They just made one for Inez specifically, so you can pick that up after day 35. Additionally, there's also an Accelerate Research event that will be going on as well. So if you bring up your world map, you go to the bottom left corner, it's Accelerate Research content. And what this will do is that you'll be able to do these activities, and when you do them, you'll be able to apply it to your research to you speed up your research. So go into here, you can click on these, you'll be able to complete these activities, and on completion, it'll accelerate your research by a certain segment of time, which means it'll speed up your research time to make it easier. So if you're trying to speed up getting Daya or E-Buster or unlocking anything you've missed in the game before, you'll be able to do this as part of that process. Disrupt Invasion, 400% is on here. It'll rotate based on those as well as some other things like breach tracking and things like that. All of those can be added to this, and you can complete those to speed up your research. There will also be a content boost event right now, which is during the weekend. You will get a bonus on infiltration operations, Sigma sector, special operations, breach tracking, a bonus on the rewards you get from those as well to speed that up. This goes until March 11th on the weekends every weekend, so you'll be able to play that as well on top of the research bonus. There's also a new event that I can't show you in game, but this one is called First Steps of a New Descendant Journey. It's a February event. This is only for people who have not logged in or have created a brand new account, and this will grant you a new Inez. It's not on my account, so I guess I logged in too soon or things like that, but this will allow you to kind of get these logins and things like that, and it will give you Inez for free. It's just good for new players to log in and get the new Inez. It's not on my list right now. I guess I just didn't hit that window, but you'll be able to see this in game if you have a brand new account or haven't logged in for quite a while to be able to, you have logged in within the last 30 days. So if you haven't logged in within the last 30 days prior to this, you'll be able to get in and get this, and it gives you a free Inez if you don't already have her. There's also another boost event, but this time it's not going to be for veterans. So this is starter only event. It'll be a battlefield support operation. It's shorter than the boost one was before. Still has a bunch of goodies in it. So again, if you are mastery rank 12 or lower, you'll have access to this, and this will give you a ton of activities to do. It'll walk you through some of the progression just like they did with the last boost event, and you'll be able to get a whole bunch of stuff from it. So this one is starting today and then going through March 12th is the end of it. So if you're a brand new account, you get the free Inez, the new login event, plus this boost event with a whole bunch of other stuff going on. So now's a great time to start the game if you haven't already. If you have friends that haven't started the game, this is a great time to get them in because they'll get a whole bunch of free stuff. I think Bunny is in there as well. You get Bunny, you get free weapons, you get free Inez, you get a whole bunch of goodies and things that help you progress through that process, which I think are going to be really cool. Next, we got a rework for 2 weapons in the game. Both of them are pretty cool. The first one is Clairvoyance. So this is your chill-based beam rifle. This one has always been used on chill descendants like Viesa just because it has a resistance down debuff on it. However, they buffed it in a really cool way. So the way the Clairvoyance works now is that when you're channeling the beam, you'll notice crystals appearing in front of the weapon. So these crystals will appear and then they'll fire. So while you're shooting at the target, I probably should do infinite ammo here, but you can see that those crystals are forming there. They're forming in front of the weapon. You get to maybe go and fire, but they actually just increase the amount of damage that you do. Like as you're shooting, there's appearing and shooting out and dealing damage from that. So it just increases the damage the weapon does, and it still has the buff on it as well. So you see those crystals there. Nice little increase, nice little visual change for the weapon, and just an overall buff with still have the buff on it. Next is Hammer Anvil, a shotgun that came out and never really did anything because everyone just used smithereens in general, like Executor for electric, for Executor for like electric weak bosses and that sort of thing. So this weapon came out. We never really used it for anything just because it was too weak, but it comes with 2 firing modes. You have the shotgun mode, which looks like this. You can shoot and do shotgun damage there. Then it has a rifling mode. However, the rework that they did on it is pretty sweet. So if we were to like kind of pop this, I'm just gonna do this so it's easier. You can do shotgun mode is here, you're doing shotgun damage. But if you swap to the rifling mode, it now does air burst. So it detonates an air, and then you can see that it actually fires out the shrapnel from the explosion to deal damage. So it's kind of like Restored Relic, where you don't really need to aim all that well because it kind of auto aims for you. But now what you can do is you can switch to rifling mode on hammer and anvil, and then you can just do this. You can just like fire and do this. You can even shoot above and it'll just do it. Like it's such a cool weapon. Visually, it's very cool. And I think with the high fire rate, it could be really fun. The damage seems to be pretty respectable as well. So it's a good AoE weapon, and now has the option of going with the shotgun version or with going the rifling version with the explosion, which is a really fun change. They also changed up beam rifle functionality because in general, beam rifles have been pretty weak. Voltia has been pretty decent for dealing damage in AoE and also has been good for like void vessels and stuff like that. But beam rifles have just been a little bit weaker than most weapons overall. Like from on average, they made a couple changes here. The first one is that when you reload a beam rifle, it no longer loses its charge level, which is super nice. So you can see that if I fire my beam rifle, get it to charge 3, and then I reload, it doesn't reset it. I can still build it back up again. That's a big win for us in general. They also adjusted the charging speed, increased the duration of stage 3, and decreased the charge decay rate when not firing, so that you can maintain beam rifles easier, which is nice. Next, a whole bunch of UI functionality bug fixes have gone in. I skimmed through a bunch of them. There wasn't one that like really stood out to me. It's like, this is really nice. You'll find that some of the menus are faster and snappier. You'll find that the button transitioning on some platforms like Xbox are cleaner. They made a whole bunch of performance improvements on UI and functionality, made a bunch of bug fixes as well. Personally, for me, I'm getting a little bit of lag and rubber banding on the new patch, especially in the new dungeon, but in general, there has been a lot of improvements, like a large list of small improvements on that. So check out your UI menus, check out your loading on how you tag things. All that stuff has had a once over on that improvement in general. Next, on to the shop. There is new content added to the shop. The first one is the Dance Night set of skins. So this one here is for Miss Gley. So this is gonna be the ones they showed off on the dev stream there. So if you're trying to look for those, you can find these here. This one is going to be for Miss Luna. So this is the Gley skin. If you're looking for that new hair with the little ribbon on the back and then like the old like dancer setup, then you've got like the 90s pop, disco kind of vibe here for Miss Luna with the head bob. I know a lot of people like this kind of hairstyle on Descendants, especially since it doesn't clip with armor or other pieces that come down. So this might be a good headpiece to pick up if you like Luna. This one is for Miss Inez here, very Inez style with the hound, but also that old like disco kind of 80s vibe, I guess, with the jacket and the jumpsuit and the heels. And you also got one for Serena with like, it's more like South Dixie, the crop top off shoulder setup with the huge hoop earrings on the side here that kind of go with that, plus the little headband on top. And you've also got like the denim jumper for Miss Harris here, obviously. And you can toggle off the back there if you would like to, but it kind of has the old, again, this one very much feels like, I don't know, like when like Bond villains or Bond characters are being incognito, they always wear these giant oversized ring glasses for that as well. It has come with a dance night emote, which should have you can see on the bottom here has the projection on it as well. It has its own theme song and music and is playable for all Descendants too. And you've got like, a name card and UI and stuff like that for the bundle if you want to pick it up. So this is the dance night set of skins, and they can be purchased individually. They've also got two new skins. So they have this one they have new skins for the Vortex and for the Orca. So this is the body skin for the Vortex as well, and does have the attachments that go along with it as well. And there's a new Orca skin, which they're calling Flight of the Honeybee, which looks very bee-like, yellow with those kind of smooth, more insect-like aesthetics that go along with it as well. And of course, you can add these pieces to that as well that fit the skin theme. So you can add these attachments to these too. This can be bought as a bundle too, if you'd like. And along with all those, they also have some skins or a skin for Daya. So they have like the default one that is here, but they also have like the Oblivion's Commander one too that you can pick up. This is going to be the one that we saw when she first appeared. So this is going to be the Daya skin if you would like to. This is kind of slightly altered from the original, but this is the one that she kind of showed up on the battlefield with. So if you want to pick up this skin, this is available. It is a purple skin for 750 if you wanted to get that one. And of course, this is the one for the battle supply tokens and the battle pass. This one is at the end of the battle pass if you complete it. And this is the equestrian skin that you can pick up after 21 days of logging in every single day. But that is the patch. The patch is out. You got a new dungeon to complete, 2 new weapons to collect. Inversion Reinforcement has been reset. We've got Daya to play along with as well. A bunch of new skins added to the game, and they got even more skins coming in 2 weeks as well. Let me know what you think about the patch, how your experience has been. A lot of people have said that Daya is really fast to farm compared to like the Ultimate Yujin grind or like the Swords grind or the Hive Master grind. Seems to be a lot faster than it was before, but let me know what your perspective is down below and how you're feeling about the game in the comments. If you found value in today's video, leave a like down below, leave a comment for the algorithm to help this video get seen by more people, and don't forget to check out my other channels for other content and other stuff and other things.